want to try to do it?
All right. Welcome back, folks, to the FF Faceoff, part of the Faceoff Sports Network. This is a fantasy football podcast, and today we are answering your start-sit questions for Week 9 of the NFL season. By the way, happy Halloween, everybody. Hope you're having a great time. Hope you got all the candy you want. If you're somebody who walks around with your kids and boozes, hope you got enough booze in the system, especially enough booze in the system to get you through tonight with the Jets on prime time yet again. But anyway, I digress. Feel free to follow the show here at FF Faceoff. You can follow us on X at FF Faceoff. You can go to fffaceoff.com for all of your NFL, fantasy football, sports betting needs. And also here, feel free to like, feel free to subscribe. If we're a little late, we apologize. We had a little technical difficulties. And also, StreamYard's a little temperamental sometimes. So we're working through the kinks. Last but not least, my name is Michael Hoff. You can follow me on X at the FF Realist. Today, I am dressed as a guy who loves Halloween, but not for the candy, but for the horror movies. I'm joined by Pete Nova, who'll be followed at Supernova38. That's with 2 R's, but I'm not sure if he's dressed as a grandmother, someone in a dark alley who's going to scare me, or I don't know. So, Pete, feel free to let us know. And how are you, buddy?
I am doing all right. Not sure how long it will be until I take this mask off, but to be a little festive, I couldn't really tell you what exactly I am. Maybe the ghost of Jerome Bettis. We do have a Steelers theme here with the thumbnail and the background, so I figured I'd wear my Jerome Bettis jersey.
But like when you bought the mask,
Yeah.
like what did it say it was? Like when you go on Amazon, you buy a shelf. It says this is a shelf. Like when you bought that, like what the fuck was it at that point?
I think it was just pretty much like scary old woman mask.
Cool. All right, I will Amazon.
Funny. It was like I looked up funny masks, and this is one of them. I have the dog mask too, and a hot dog hat.
Yes, and I'm sure they will all make appearances, maybe not, but that's why you guys need to tune in. Lastly, I will say this is a rarity. We have no Anthony Servino in the house today. We have no Steve D'Angelo in the house today. They are both trick-or-treating together, and throughout the show, we will kind of chronicle that and show you what they're up to throughout the show. But yeah, so feel free to send in your start-sit questions. Pete, if you want to go ahead, you can feel free to take the lead if you'd like, if you're ready.
Yeah,
It's hard to tell when I see no facial expression, so I'm just rolling with it.
Yeah, I get it. It's not easy dealing with a clown. So I know there was a couple of questions that came in earlier that some people, I'm not sure if they're here anymore. If Basher, if Michael O'Day, if you guys are still here, let me know. I see Marlon is still here, so I'm going to pull him first since he did send a few questions back. But if you guys are still here, feel free to drop some questions.
Yeah, he's still active. You could read the question for the podcast.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I know Marlon's here. He said, should I trade Puka Nacua and Devonta Smith for Breece Hall and George Pickens? I think it really depends on where you are in your running back room. Obviously, Breece Hall would be a phenomenal pickup. I think, in my opinion, and I don't know how Hoff feels about this, but I think Hall is probably a slight, and when I say slight, I think he's a slight peg up. He's probably the best guy in the deal, but it's not by much over Puka. And then Devonta Smith for Pickens is close to a wash. Devonta Smith is more consistent and safe whereas Pickens has a good schedule, but and the first 2 games at Russ have been promising. So I don't think it's a
Yeah.
bad deal. If you need a running back, I would make this move.
I don't think it's a bad deal at all. I actually had told him off air in the chat, which I'm trying to do more. But yeah, I like this deal for him. Same as you said, though. I'm curious about what his running back room looks like outside of that.
He's-
So,
He, he said he's got
Marlon, if you,
Mixon and Saquon, so he would be adding Brees Hall. And then his wide receivers would be Drake London, BTJ, and Pickens. Because he has Mixon and Saquon, I actually probably would not do the deal.
yeah, then
Think
I
you're
wouldn't
okay
do the
there.
deal. Yeah,
Yeah.
because then you're just because then you're hamstringing your. I mean, you're hamstringing yourself in the sense that you then have to flex one of these guys. And the only reason why I roll my eyes at that, and just it's good to get Brees Hall if you need another running back and you don't have 2 capable running backs. But if you get Brees Hall, and then if you're hamstrung to put him in your flex every week, and if the Jets offense continues to struggle the way that it is, then you're going to be like, geez, like I can't start this guy. Can I start? Like I have to start him because I traded for him. So that could be more problematic. So actually, this is why we say context is key on this fine program. I would actually say no then at that point.
Yeah, I mean, having Puka and in your wide receiver room, I mean, he would have Puka. Hold on, let me pull it back up here. He said he would have London, BTJ, Pickens, D Hop, and Pittman at that point. I mean, it's not a bad receiver group, but I would want Puka and London and BTJ. And honestly, I mean, I don't know what your backup running backs are behind Saquon and Mixon, but you're fine there. I don't think you need to do that deal. I would prefer having a stud like Puka, who I think is a little bit of a peg up even over Drake London at this point, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
I do have an update real quick before he gets the next question.
okay, go for it.
Anthony and Steve are currently trick or treating. They sent me a photo, so I will share that with you guys. There they are.
Oh, nice.
Uh,
I don't know
they
if I would have went
are.
with the banana outfit.
Well, makes him look like he's hung, so that works. It's good for him. And Anthony's rubbing his belly. He wants some candy, so we'll let them get back to it. Of course, not waste our time. But go ahead, Pete. You can feel free to go into the next question.
No, no. Yeah, I guess like I said, if there's some people that are sending in new questions in here.
You
What do
can
you
send in a super chat, by the way, and cut the whole line if you want.
Yeah, but guys that are like Basher, 3P, 1C, like these people that are sending questions in before we went live, if you're still
Alicia
here,
is
send
here
it back
too.
in. I do see Alicia. I'll grab hers in a second. Let's go
Hmm.
to Trone.
What up,
He
Tron?
said, yeah, what's up, Trone? He said, Jaden Daniels is my starter. Who's the better backup quarterback, Tua or Bo Nix? I've also have Tyreek in a 1 quarterback league. So yeah, you're looking at that as like, do you stack Tyreek? Um, Me personally, I mean, you have Jaden Daniels, so do you want a safer play or do you want upside? I think Knicks has the upside. I think Tua is the safer guy. So to me, I would probably prefer Tua just because it gives you stability in case there's an injury, even though Knicks has been really good. I do want to look at their
I'm.
schedules
I'll say
and then
this
take
while
it
you
there.
you go ahead
Go
with
ahead.
the schedules. I'll say this. I would rather go with. I would argue the point that the safer option is Tua because as much as I love the guy, as much as I want him to succeed and stay healthy, he's one hit away from being out for the next 3 weeks or God forbid his career. And Bo Nix, he had a good matchup last week. He produced. He has a good matchup this week. We'll see if he produces. Bo Nix to me is turning out to be a guy, at least in his rookie season. And I'm not the Broncos fan, Pete is, so
Sure.
I'm not I'm speaking to this on a very whatever. I'm a neutral guy on this one. He seems like against bad opponents, he could roast them. Like earlier on when he destroyed the Buccaneers, when he had a good game against the Buccaneers. Buccaneers are bad against the quarterback. They have been all year. And then we saw it last week. And then I believe we'll see it with the Ravens this week. I think he's a top 12 quarterback this week. So the only thing you have to worry about is the bad start. So Pete is kind of looking up what the schedules look like the rest of the way.
Yeah.
I assume he's looking up strength of schedule. So Pete,
Seems
you
like
want to
it
help me out
seems
there?
like Knicks probably is the better play. Sometimes I talk
Mhm.
myself out of Broncos guys because I don't want to come off bias, but in the playoffs, Knicks gets Indianapolis, the Chargers, and Cincinnati. Chargers are the toughest matchup he would get, and he scored 24.9 points in that first game. And then the Indianapolis is 21st against quarterbacks, and Cincinnati's 29th. So that would be the 3 games in the playoffs. So it's definitely an easier schedule. I think I would roll with Knicks based on that as well. And yeah, so in terms of rolling on here, Mobbin said Caleb or Stroud this week. Caleb gets the Cardinals, and Stroud gets the Jets tonight. I'm gonna go with Caleb. I don't really need to look at the matchup for Caleb
Same here.
too much, but limited weapons. Don't think it's gonna be a high scoring game tonight. I would start Caleb.
Caleb is where I'm going. The dog is barking. Ignore that if you can. Appreciate you barking at the exact time when you weren't supposed to. But yeah, the Bears are going up against Arizona. I will take that matchup.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah.
Silver Rapture said PPR 3, start 3, Neighbors, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, Tillman, Marvin Harrison Jr., Deontay, or Dowdle. I'll say off the bat, Deontay's a no. New team, going to the Ravens, playing the Broncos. I'm just not comfortable starting him yet. I definitely am starting Garrett Wilson and Neighbors. Neighbors went off against Washington in their first matchup, though Washington's defense is better than it was. Garrett Wilson, I expect to have a good game tonight. It's really between Devontae Adams, Tillman, and Marv. I would start Marv if I was in this situation, and I would bench Adams and Tillman. I don't know what you feel. And I'm not starting Rico.
I'm going with those 2 options, but when you mention the last option, when you're not sure of who to take last, I take Tillman.
Okay. That's fair.
I take Tillman because I get it. It's not the flashy name. It's not it's not the household name. People say who, but you look at what happened last week. Jameis Winston's there. He's not going anywhere. I'm riding that hot hand then. It's to me, playing Tillman is this, and then you can get on to the next question. But to me, playing Tillman is this right now. For you blackjack players, when you're playing at the table and the dealer continues to bust and they bust and they bust, and you see what's happening. I see what's happening in Cleveland. We've got Jameis Winston, a now capable passing quarterback, and we've got Tillman, who destroyed last week for fantasy. I'm going to continue to bet, and I'm going to double down. So Tillman's my play.
Okay. Yeah,
That's it.
I mean, I don't hate it. I mean, he plays it. He's got a tough matchup with the Chargers. That's really why I kind of, but
Yep.
I can't blame you for riding a hot hand.
It's not an easy matchup, but it's also not like a holy shit matchup to me, at least. Yeah.
Yeah. Sauce Mon said, struggling to decide who to start on my wide receiver 2, Garrett Wilson, Terry, or Devonta Smith. It's probably between Devonta gets the Jags, man. Let me take a look. I have Terry as my wide receiver 10 this week. I have Garrett Wilson as my wide receiver 11, and I have Devonta as my wide receiver 14. So if I'm going to stay true to my rankings, I
Yeah,
would say Terry.
that's what I was going to say too. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And he's historically been really good against the Giants. Magnus came in, said Minnesota defense, Commanders this week. Yeah, Commanders are my number 1 this week. They're my favorite stream, and I also have them as my favorite defense this week against the Giants. I think this defense is getting better. No Andrew Thomas. The Giants zero passing touchdowns for Daniel Jones in the last 3 games, which I thought it was kind of wild. And he's been sacked like, I think it was 3. I don't have the stats in front of me, but I think it's over 3 sacks a game over that span.
Yes,
So
yes.
yeah, not good.
I was just going to say you should trust this little old lady on this podcast with me because she is very good with the defensive streamers. Puts out a lot of the YouTube content on the defensive streamers. It's got a lot of traction, deservedly so. He's picked I'm sorry, she, the old lady, has picked a lot of good defenses. So yeah, it's 2024. I got to be careful. So
Yeah, dude, relax.
yeah. Nah.
All right. Vio G said, should I roll the dice with Rico again or go with Alexander Madison? Alexander Madison gets the Bengals. Rico Dowdle and the Cowboys. They get
Falcons.
the Falcons. Yeah, honestly, crazy
That's a
enough,
home game for the Falcons too, by the way.
I think I go with Alexander Madison here. I know it
So
sounds
would I.
crazy.
No, it doesn't sound that crazy. I mean, I actually Rico Dowdle today. I picked him up in a league where it's a very small bench, and there's a lot of bonus points for receptions and yards and this and that, which makes Dowdle then look good. It rinses some of that negativity off him. But outside of that, yeah, no, not so much. So I would go with Madison. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, last week, Alexander Madison had 7 carries inside the 20, uh, 4 carries inside the 5, and also had a target inside the 10. I mean, it's not sexy, but prior to last week, he had 17 and 15, and that was against Kansas City last week, who's the number 1 run defense. So I would start Madison if I was in your spot.
By the way, before Pete gets the next question,
No, go
I'm going to
ahead.
be
Yeah, sure.
selfish on this one. We're helping you guys win week 9. We want to help you win fantasy football championships. If you could, not a big deal. Very easy. Just hit the like button on this show. You want to know why? You want to know why? Because it's just Pete and I today. The parents are away. I guess the parents, half the parents. Steve's not a parent, but Steve's important to the show, but he's not a parent. But Anthony's a godfather of the program. He's not here. We need to let him know that the ship still runs great without him. So hit that like button, please. I need to see the likes go up right now. I got 20 people watching. I got 10 likes. Let's level that out.
Yeah, let's get some.
Okay.
Let's get some more likes up in here. We
And I'll
would
bring the
appreciate
passion.
that.
I'll bring the fun. We'll answer the questions. But yeah.
Give us a little love. Give us some love. Let's see. Zero skills. Happy Halloween. Yeah, happy Halloween to you too.
Yeah, man.
Said. Happy Halloween PPR need one.
Just do it again.
I had a fucking brain fart.
If only they could take away the likes, they would.
Well, it's funny.
maybe
I'm
they
looking.
could.
I don't know what's up with Twitter. I'm looking at our Twitter. It says I have the circle around my name. It says I'm live, but it didn't tweet out anything. Or maybe it did. I don't know how to find this tweet.
Anyway, what about Zero Skills and his?
Yeah, I know. Okay, Jalen Waddle, Rico, Bucky Irving plays Monday, or Tank Dell plays tonight. Need one PPR.
My God, I'll say this: Tank Dell to me, and I was asked, and I only say this because I was asked a few times about Tank Dell today on my own, X account. I feel like that's the guy. I'm not thrilled with starting him, and he's playing on Thursday. But I also feel like I could wake up Friday morning and be like, "Shit, why didn't I play him?" Jalen Waddle, I can't trust on a week to week basis. Ugh. I'm here. This is where I'm at, Pete. Then you can let me know where you are. Right now, I am picking between Bucky Irving and Tank Dell. I'm battling myself here, but I'm picking one of those two guys. Because Rico Dowdle, again, to me, I said this earlier, he needs to be in some kind of format where you're getting some kind of bonus points, or it's got to be whatever, a bigger league that gives you more points for whatever, yards, receptions, first downs, this and that. Outside of that, he's not giving you a ton. So to me, it's down to Bucky or Dell. What says you?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I'm looking here. Jalen Waddle. I don't even know. I don't have Jalen Waddle in my top 24. I don't see him. He's 28th for me. Um, Tank Dell, I actually have as my wide receiver 23. Definitely don't want to start Rico. It's really between Tank Dell and Bucky Irving for me. Kind of to your point. I mean, shoot. Let me take a look really quick at Bucky. Bucky plays Kansas City. I'm gonna roll with Tank Dell tonight. If I'm you, I just Bucky gets a tough matchup. So does Tank Dell. I just feel like it's scary, but I would much rather roll with Dell than Jalen Waddle at this point, who is just really is just not super consistent. And he plays Buffalo, who's a tough matchup too. So give me Tank Dell tonight. Fire it up on a spooky Thursday night football game that I don't expect to be high scoring, but I would fire up Tank Dell in this spot here.
Yeah, barely. Oh,
Yeah.
there's my dog back there.
Oh, there's your dog. What's
Yeah.
up?
Nah, it's just sniffing around, hating trick or treaters. Yeah, the usual.
Yeah, huge. Jared
Same as me.
Horton. Hey guys, happy Halloween. My running backs are bad. Mixon, Madison, ETN, Mason, Pierce. Would you deal ETN or Madison in a package to get Javonte Williams, Chubb, or Hubbard PPR rest of season? I would not. I would not deal ETN or Madison, and I don't want Javonte. He had a good matchup last week. Disappointed. He's got two
Yeah.
tough matchups the next 2 weeks. I'd
I would-
rather just roll with the guys you have right now. I would maybe trade for Hubbard. Maybe I would trade for Hubbard, but not Chubb or Javonte.
The only reason why I sometimes smile is usually I'm looking at the camera, and every now and again I look over to my right, and then I see your face. And on the podcast end, I'm not laughing at his face; I'm laughing at his mask. So it's making me chuckle. Your dog looks like my ex-wife. Woof. What? I mean, you should have. I mean, listen. The dog is very good at cuddling, but outside of that, Jamie, I mean, you learned a very valuable lesson. Then kind of pick him. Where is this fucking guy? Where are you? Oh, yeah, there you are. Yeah, how you doing? You all right? He's fucking fine. Anyway, yeah.
All right,
I think I just in terms of that last question about the trade, I wouldn't be bothering with that at all. Because I also think it's going to be like pulling teeth to kind of get the value that you want out of those guys. If you're playing with guys who are savvy enough, they could poke holes through a lot of that. So I would hang on to who you have. But yeah.
Javon Bennett said, I'm thinking of which wide receiver I would start this week. It's a standard league between Adams, Dell, or Downs.
Downs.
Yeah, it's Downs for me too.
Listen, Joe Flacco being
Downs
in there under center, it's Downs all day. Look at the target share that Downs had. So
yeah, Downs is my wide receiver 17 this week. So yeah, I would go with Downs. I'm gonna pull this question. I'm gonna jump off camera just a second. I gotta refocus my camera. I just gotta refocus my camera, but I'm pulling that question for you.
So start commit, start Ertz. Week 9 and rest of season. Sorry, so it's a week 9 question. It's also a rest of season question. So let's get down to week 9 at least. Zach Ertz. Let's plug this in here. We got Zach Ertz. We've got commit. I think in terms of this week alone, I'm probably gonna go with and just if that would work for me, that'd be great. He's asking us should he take Ertz rest of the season over commit, but he's also asking this week in particular. This week in particular, I'd probably go. You know what? I'm going commit. I'm going commit both ways. The Washington Commanders passing attack has gotten better. Yes, Terry McLaurin has flourished. Yes, at times. I'm gonna go with Cole Kmet here, though. I feel better about it with Cole Kmet. As Pete answers, I would like to pull up the strength of schedule for tight ends the rest of the way, that being between Washington and Chicago. But on the surface of that, I would rather stick with Cole Kmet. Pete, what says you on that front?
Yeah, I look, I mean, if you're looking for a safe play every single week, Zach Ertz is that guy. He gets you around 8 to 9 a week. I mean, that's just what he's doing. Cole Kmet does provide more upside. I think if your lineup is looking for, if you need more pop in your lineup, I would prefer to roster Kmet. Ertz, like I said, he gives you a decent floor every week. The ceiling is not that high, but he's doing it every single week at a position that hasn't been consistent outside of the last few weeks. So it's just really a matter of what you value more. Do you value more upside, or do you value more consistency on a weekly basis? So that would be my answer there.
Yeah, I'm still gonna go Cole Kmet here.
Okay.
I would just say this lastly. I think that you might be in a position potentially based on the depth of your league, if you're in a 10-man, if you're in a 10-man for sure, maybe you can stream it the rest of the way, where you don't have to be married to either guy. And you can
Yeah.
feel free to let us know that, and we will answer. But that's my last thought on that.
Yeah. Basher said, "Do we think May is starting this week? If so, should I start him over Rodgers?" I would.
Wait.
I don't. I think May is going to play.
Yeah, but the problem is, which I'm sure you're already ready to say this. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
but
No, go ahead.
Rodgers is playing, in an
I
hour
know.
and a half.
I know. I just don't know. I mean, is there nobody else out there on waivers? Like, I would rather start Matt Stafford this week. I don't like May against the Titans, to be completely honest with you.
I like
I'm
that
not,
Matt Stafford matchup a lot too. By the way,
yeah. So I would just. I mean, honestly, like, I mean, I would if it has to be between the two, I prefer Rodgers tonight. Back against the wall against the passing defense that this defense isn't that like they've given up points against quarterbacks, so that would be my suggestion. But I would try to stream another quarterback if there's anybody else.
so would I. Definitely get back to us.
Yeah. Collins said over traded and tanked my running back room to Josh Jacobs and low end guys. Got Debo and Kittle out of Robinson and Chase Brown. Okay. I mean, Kittle and Debo
They're
are,
on buys.
but I'm reading this wrong. I thought he meant he traded them.
No,
To
he's
Chase
saying
Brown.
now his lineup now has those guys out, and he's
Oh, well, he gave us a follow-up here. He said, "My wide receiver room is Cup, Debo, Marv, Dell, Ridley, Coleman. What are a few running backs you think I could move into for these with these wide receivers?" I guess so he's asking if there's anybody that we think he can trade to get a running back at this point.
sure.
I
I
mean,
personally, all right. So
go ahead.
here's how I would approach this. I would keep Coleman. I don't know if you'll get a ton for Ridley. So to me, the guy that I would look to move would be DeAndre Hopkins. Only because, and listen, this depends on the type of league you're in, how much you guys are paying attention. But when somebody gets traded to the Chiefs, no matter if it's or signs with them, no matter if it's a Juju Smith-Schuster or a Kareem Hunt, everyone goes, "Oh, the Chiefs. Okay, I'd pick that guy up." So to me, I feel like for now, there's a little bit of a lure there with DeAndre Hopkins. So that's the guy that I would look to trade for that specific reason.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. Maybe you could also try to move McMillan or Coleman. I would hang on to Cup, Debo, Marvin, Dell. But I think you're okay. You might be able to get. I mean, in terms of a guy that you can get, look, maybe if you believe in Chuba Hubbard, you can get him. Jonathan Brooks, I believe, has to be active this week and play, or he's done for the year. That's how the IR works because the practice window was opened up and he started practicing. I'm pretty sure that's how the rule works.
Yeah, but wouldn't you, in that case? Oh,
I'm saying you go trade for. You might be able to go trade for Chuba if you need a running back.
That's what
in case if you're monitoring the situation, because look, it seems like Jonathan Brooks may play this week, but we don't really know. And again, if he doesn't play, he's done for the year. Like once you activate somebody from IR, there's a practice window and they have to be activated, I think, within 21 days. And if they're not, then they go on IR for the rest of the year. So maybe a Chuba, maybe you could grab like a Bucky Irving from somebody, depending on how somebody feels. It's these questions are very vague sometimes, so it's really hard to just kind of tell you who to go after.
This is why we always say in this fine program, or at least I say 35,000 times, which I'll flash your graphic in a few seconds. Once I scroll down, context is key. But I will just tell you this before Pete gets on to the next question. We'll see practice reports tomorrow with Carolina. That will tell us quite a bit as to the running back aspect of this between Chuba and what's going on with Jonathan Brooks. That'll kind of tell us what's going to go on for this weekend, tomorrow's practice report. So I would stay tuned till then, and we will be live on Friday with your start sit questions again. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Just one more thing.
We're up to 20 likes, by the way. So good job, everybody, with responding.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Yeah.
Marlon said, so then what running back could I get by pairing up BTJ and Devonta Smith? Uh, if you're trading for BTJ, if you're trading BTJ and Devonta Smith, like I need like a Jonathan Taylor. Like you need a big guy because Brian Thomas Jr., if he plays this week and doesn't miss any time, he's a top 10 wide receiver right now. Devonta Smith is a top 24 wide receiver right now this year. Like you need a top, possibly top 5, top 7 running back. I would be looking at trying to get like even see if somebody will give you Breece Hall. Like those are the types of tiers. Anything less than that, you can't do. I mean, unless you're taking, then I would just take Devonta Smith and try to get somebody like a James Conner or Brian Robinson. Like those are the kinds of guys you would look at. But like if you're giving up BTJ plus Devonta Smith, like you might be able to get a top 10 guy with just BTJ. I mean, you should at running back. I mean, he's been that good, and no Christian Kirk, so it's one less weapon.
I do have an update, by the way.
Okay.
Before we get to the next question, as to the trick or treating for Anthony and Steve, who took the day off. I have a picture that they just sent me. There they are.
Oh, they switched outfits.
Yeah, Mike and Sully. Yeah, and that's why they're saying like whatever. They're undecided. But Anthony's very happy being Mike. Mike Wazowski, of course, of Monsters fame. So there you go. So we'll see what kind of candy they get.
Hopefully they get the
They'll
big
share
ones.
none of. What's that?
Said hopefully they get the big candy.
Amen. That's what she said. I mean, she wants it anyway. I'll shut up. Go.
Alicia said, if Pollard is out, do I roll with Dobbins, Chubb, or BTJ? Definitely not Chubb. It'd be between Dobbins and BTJ.
Agree. I would actually go. I currently, as it stands right now, Alicia, right? Alicia.
Yep. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. And yes, happy Halloween, by the way. And appreciate your support. As of right now, I would go with Dobbins. But that being said, I would take a look at the practice report and how things fare out with the injuries, because right now, BTJ might miss this weekend's game with every single other wide receiver that's employed by the Jacksonville Jaguars. So right now I'd go with Dobbins. But if you hear that Brian Thomas Jr. is going to play, then I fire him in there. Here's my other question: is the Chargers play?
They play the Browns.
Chargers play at 1:00, and that the Jaguars game is at what time? Jaguars game is, where are we, Jacksonville? Where are you, buddies?
Jags are at 4:00. 4:00.
Okay, all right. So, shit. Yeah, I would potentially roll with Dobbins. If you hear before 1:00 that Brian Thomas Jr. is going to play, I fire him in there.
Yeah, we should.
We
should know.
Yeah, and just the one other thing is, like, I know that Evan Ingram is going to get peppered with targets, and that's like the whole notion everybody's going on because of the lack of wide receivers in Jacksonville. But the Eagles are actually very good against the tight end. So if it turns out that Brian Thomas Jr. is going to play, it's a much easier matchup than for, say, Evan Ingram. So
yeah,
keep an eye on that. But yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good. I'm just going to answer this one quick. Honolulu Blue said Commanders or Eagles. Commanders for sure. Unless Brian Thomas Jr. is out as well and they're throwing to nobody in the Jags team, I would then start the Eagles. But for now, it's still the Commanders. What else do we have? I'm going to scroll back up. Let me just get back to Sauce because he followed up and said, then who should be on my flex? Devonta Smith or Garrett Wilson? I also have Dobbins, Tillman. Garrett Wilson should be the guy that you flex out of these guys, in my opinion.
Yes, I would skate on that with you. Yeah, I would.
So in Alicia, your question too. Sorry, I personally, I would start BTJ if he's up. If he's up and available, I'm starting him. That's just he's been hot, and Dobbins has a tough matchup against Cleveland. To me, rather roll with BTJ in that matchup.
And just again, sorry, I apologize. I keep stepping on your toes. But just another programming note. Just again, Alicia, if you're watching, and then on Sunday, if you watch along with us, we go live at 10 a.m. So we should hear something about what's going to go on at 1 o'clock, which should hopefully help dictate your decision. If not, Friday practices tomorrow. So keep that in mind.
Let's get the 3P because he came back in after being gone for a little bit, and we didn't.
I always
catch him.
say his name weird. I go 3P 1C fail.
He said Flacco or Stroud tonight. Flacco for me.
Flacco, 1,000% Flacco.
Flacco, and then half PPR, JSN, Waddle, Tillman, Tank Dell. I think Hoff's going to say Tillman. I'm going to go with Tank Dell in this spot.
You thought right. And do you want to take a pizza bet?
Yeah, we can take a pizza bet.
Do you want
In
to do
PPR or half PPR?
Well, he said half PPR. I don't give a shit.
We can do half PPR. It's fine.
I mean, you're going to lose either way. So, okay.
No, we haven't done a pizza bet in a little bit, so we can do that.
Okay. We should have payout said pizza bets, but whatever. It's fine. Yeah. I was going to flush that up.
Looking for it.
You're doing a good job.
Yeah, that's all right.
Oh, who are those kids?
The kids are back.
Oh, wait a minute. I have another update on Anthony and Steve. They are. Hold on a second. Here they are. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, they must have had one of those garage beers or shots. You know how they give those out these days. Trick or treating's changed a little bit over the years. Now it's trunk or treat. Everyone's drinking alcohol with the kids. It's just different.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to Debbie. She's been waiting.
Debbie.
So looking good, guys. Yeah, this was when I had the mask on, so no more mask. But hopefully I look better now.
Wait, that's half insulting. Wait a minute. Because Debbie did say looking good when you were wearing the mask. Does that mean I look just as bad as you when you were wearing the mask?
No, I think you looked good. You looked good. You were elevating our appearance.
Do I look great, guys? Tell me in the chat.
Yeah, Hoff needs a little ego boost.
Humiliate the fuck out of me. Go ahead.
Happy Halloween. 2 questions, 2 different leagues, both PPR, 1 flex. Need 1. Dell, Tillman, Waddle. So she's sitting Waddle, so it's between Dell and Tillman. Me and Hoff keep going back and forth. I'm starting Dell. He's starting Tillman. Both have tough matchups. Tillman against the Chargers, Dell against the Jets. I'm rolling with Dell. He's with Tillman.
Really quick before you get to the next question, though, only because Waddle's come up a couple times. Aren't you at the point, at least I am, where it's like I need to see it from Waddle?
Yeah.
Before I buy back in. Like, I know the body of work, I know the contract, I know this and that, but right? Like,
every time I say this about a guy, he ends up popping off the next week. Every time I say I got to see it, and so you hear
that's
it
the whole point
first.
Of having to see it is they have to give you a reason.
Well, he's against Buffalo, which is a tough matchup. 6th against receivers. But all right, so yeah, Debbie, you'll have to choose between me or Hoff. Whose advice you prefer? And then the second one, need 2 wide receivers: Higgins, Dell, Mooney, Worthy, Hopkins. Now this is easier to me. It's Higgins and Mooney. That'd be where I would go for me.
I'm gonna go Mooney and I'm gonna go Worthy. It has been about 340 days since, and I know this only because I did the start sit for quarterbacks. I believe it was 339 yesterday. So it's been about 340 days since Pat Mahomes has had his last 20-point game. I think he has it this weekend against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They are playing. Actually, they're playing on Monday night. I apologize, but the Buccaneers have been allowing a lot to the quarterback position. I think that bodes well for Xavier Worthy. So for that, I would go with Worthy, and I would go with Mooney.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I actually scratch that too. I'm actually with you. I'm looking at my rankings now. I have Mooney at 21, Worthy at 22, Dell at 23, and Higgins at 24. Crazy enough, everybody but Hopkins that's in that question is all in a line for me. So yeah, I would go Mooney and Worthy.
Hopkins is one of those other ones, and I'm sorry, I just keep jumping in whatever the hell I want, even though you're hosting. Hopkins just seems like he's one of those other ones. Like, if you have him, you start him. But if you have like a question of who to start, he might not be the guy. But eventually, he's going to pop when he's on your bench. That's all I'm saying.
No, I get it. Silver Rapture said getting a headache between Garrett and Adams. This was in relation to our question before. Garrett's been consistent. Adams is getting a decent amount of targets too, but Garrett's been producing, and that's while Adams has been getting targets. So I would stick with Garrett in that last question that you had. KJ Frederick, been a little bit, man. Thanks for jumping in. He said, "What's up, everyone? Better flex start: McMillan, Javonte, Zach Moss, or Deontay Johnson." I think we're in agreement. No on Deontay. Probably no on Javonte. It's probably between Zach Moss and McMillan. McMillan gets KC, and Zach Moss and the Bengals get the Raiders. I would go with Zach Moss. I mean, I don't love it, but I would go with Zach Moss.
Hence why I did the GOAT scream. I don't love this question, but yeah, I would go with Zach Moss as well. But literally the same breakdown that you just did is how I would roll. Well,
yeah. Fam First said Murray or Knicks. This is a tough one for me. I know for you, I know you and Hoff. I know you prefer Knicks. I get it. Look, Ravens. I think they're third most when it comes to touchdowns given up to quarterbacks. Actually, I could be reading that wrong. Passing touchdowns, Ravens have given up. They are tied for first with the most passing touchdowns given up, 17. And then you have Kyler Murray and Arizona going up against who again? Who do they play?
The Bears.
Yeah, I mean the Bears defense has been pretty good. They're 31st when it comes to points given up to the position. I would go with Knicks. At this point, I'm confident to say that.
Here's my deal. Murray did go up last week. That was against what? That was the
Commanders, Chargers the week before. Last week, Kyler had the Dolphins.
Was the Commanders.
No,
Dolphins. That's what it was. Because I had said to sit. I had said to sit Kyler against the Dolphins because the Dolphins were so good against quarterback. But I am doubling down, and I'll give you a couple of nuggets on Bo Nix here. Bo Nix last week. Listen, I always use DraftKings scoring. That's how I roll. He had 29.76 points last week, second best quarterback on the week. The Ravens are allowing the third most points to the position. They are also, they're the only team in the league that have 3 games with 30-plus points allowed to the quarterback position. Last but not least, more specifically in the last 4 games, Ravens are allowing an average of 24.6 points per game to quarterbacks in the last 4 weeks. So to me, Bo Nix is the play.
Yeah, I mean, this Ravens defense, this is not the usual Ravens defense. No Mike McDonald anymore.
Yeah,
ever since he left, it's just not good. It's not very good.
Like, and you can keep answering questions, but I want to pull it up for argument's sake. I feel like they started off better against quarterbacks, but you can keep going though.
I'll pull Nick just because he's been waiting. He said, "I'm having a hard time, and any advice is appreciated." Aaron Rodgers or Jameis Winston this week. Jameis Winston goes up against the Chargers, 28th against quarterbacks. I'm going with Rodgers. Texans are 4th when it comes to points given up to quarterbacks. I get it. We want to ride that hot hand with Winston. Something tells me I think Rodgers throws for at least 2 touchdowns tonight. Jameis Winston plays the Chargers. Like, that's a top 5 defense. Like, they're no joke. And so I would roll with Rodgers tonight.
Yeah, I would go the other way. I would go with Winston. So, okay. Those Ravens points allowed, by the way, on a per week basis, 16.1, 13.9. There was a 32.9 that snuck in there, then 8.4. But the last 4 weeks, 37.8, 21, 32, 27.6. So something has changed in the way this defense is approaching games.
Well, it depends who they play. Who'd they also play in the beginning of the year?
I could pull that up for you, but I mean, either way, they're getting carved up.
Yeah, I think Knicks is the play either way. I just
and that's
worry
the thing,
like fan. Maybe he shits his pants down in Baltimore.
And that's the thing. I could pull up like who they're playing, but my point being was that I said earlier, I think Knicks can play well against defenses that are not playing well against the quarterback.
Yeah, his legs. Last week he didn't rush at all, outside of the 1-yard rushing touchdown, and he was still phenomenal for fantasy. He proved that he doesn't need to, run the ball to be good for fantasy. So, yeah, I mean, I'm with you there. I do want to get to Marlon here. He said, Should I do Brian Thomas Jr. and Devonta Smith for Rashad White and CMC? Rashad White for CMC. So all three of them. I think it's a lot to be giving up. Of course, I love CMC, but to me, I'd rather just do BTJ and Devonta for, like a Jonathan Taylor or one of those other guys. Like, I don't think you need to do. I would even. You could probably do BTJ for Joe Mixon.
He would also still have, and that's true. It's a good point. He would also still have Puka, London, D Hop, and Pittman at wide receiver.
I mean, he said he has this. It's a 2 wide receiver start.
I think I'd do this deal.
I don't know, man. I just think it's a lot.
Thomas Jr., Devonta Smith, and all right. So
you might be able to do it without Rashad White. Like, can you do it without him?
Yeah. The thing is this, Marlon. I'm saying, on the surface, I would do this deal, but unless the person you're trading with is watching this show, what I would do is I would try and finagle that deal better into my favor. Maybe take one of those guys out like Pete mentioned, if you could. But if not, then yeah, I would still be okay doing the deal. But I would try and do that first.
Yeah. This is a good one. Otton or Kelsey. Call me crazy, but I prefer. Ooh. Okay. Bucks. Let me change this to PPR.
Well, I'll say this as Pete gets ready to answer.
I'm
going to go with Kelsey this week. Kelsey had a good week last week. Some people want to attribute that to National Tight End Day, which is fine. I get it. That was the thing. All tight ends are great. But I talked about it earlier where I think this is the first time in almost a year that Pat Mahomes has a 20-point fantasy game. So I think Kelsey will be a part of that. So I will go with Kelsey over Otton, even though I know the target share is there for Otton. Pete, what says you?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Otton for me. I think the target share has been there and it's been massive. I feel like this Chiefs offense has showed us that they can do things without Travis Kelce and be successful to win games. Right now, I don't think this Bucks team, like Cade Otton, they need to get him the ball if they want to win this game. So to me, it's Otton. I think he's going to be more involved. They're both going to be very involved in the game plan, but it's Otton for me. But it's close. I mean, the Bengals are 4th when it comes to points given up to tight ends. The Chiefs are number 1. So good matchup for both guys. I would even try to see if you could get both guys, one guy in your flex. To be completely honest with you, I don't mind.
I don't hate that. I don't hate that. Yeah.
Jacobs or Swift have PPR. Josh Jacobs has a tough matchup this week. He's going up against the Lions this week, and you have Swift who, is going up against Arizona. I have Swift as my RB13 this week, and Josh Jacobs as my 18. Yeah, so I'm rolling with Swift. I'm rolling with Swift.
Both guys had a good week last week, to be fair, but I agree. I would still roll with Swift this week. That would.
I think the matchup's better for Swift, and he's been phenomenal with a high floor. I mean, I actually want to check this out really quick. I'm going to pull this one up. Why don't you take a look at Jay Judah? But then I want to get back to Albert. There's something I saw on
that
Swift.
Too. We do have one last update on the trick-or-treating for Anthony and Steve, and they continue to change their outfits. I'm not sure why, but there's He-Man and Skeletor. So
that's more fitting.
Both are menacing. Both are Anyway, all right.
That one's more fitting.
Yeah, it is. Jay Judah is asking though, as Pete's looking up some stuff. Unless you have said stuff, do you have said stuff?
I have it. Let me just give this to Albert.
Jay Judah, you're next.
DeAndre Swift, outside of the first 3 weeks in the year, he's got 29, 20, 21, and 18.9. Like, he has been phenomenal outside of the beginning of the season. And he, since that bad stretch, the last 4 games, he hasn't had under 18.9 points in fantasy. And Arizona's 27th when it comes to points given up to running backs. So, and this is just a proof on Take Lock. Like, this is why me and Hoff and we try to preach on the show. Like, you have to eat humble pie sometimes. And just because you're convicted or you don't like a player, like I told people to drop DeAndre Swift after week 3, because I thought that Roshan Johnson, based on that Jeremy Fowler report, like he was going to be possibly the starter. They said they were going to give him a real look. So like, sometimes you just got to be able to move off your takes. So good for DeAndre Swift for proving us wrong.
Adapt or die.
Exactly. Jay Judah said Flowers or Ladd this week. For me, it's Ladd McConkey. He gets the Cleveland Browns. You have Zay Flowers, who gets Denver, who's been phenomenal against wide receivers, and now you add Deontay Johnson to the mix. I don't want to start Flowers at all this week. Give me Ladd.
Yeah, I would go with Ladd, but I would just tell people to not have the expectation of what he did last week.
No,
is all I would say. But I would still say, though, even with that being said, Ladd McConkey.
Yeah. I don't know if this is Emil. I think it's Emil, or it's Emily, but it looks like a guy in the photo, so I think it's Emil. So
whomever you
Emil, Emily, Emil.
2024, man. You can't.
Sorry.
What the fuck is that? God. Yeah.
I'm sorry. We also have a super chat
Jesus.
from Jay. I'll get to you in a second, Jay, just because I pulled this question first. Said, good evening. Would you trade David Montgomery and Mike Evans for Saquon, or am I paying too much? No, I think this is a very fair price for Saquon Barkley. I think it's a good deal for both sides, too. Mike Evans and David Montgomery is top 15 guy, I think, rest of the way. Some RB1 upside each week. And Mike Evans should be great when he comes back, as long as that hamstring doesn't hurt him. And Saquon Barkley. So
now again, this isn't, and then we can get the super chat. This isn't something that's affecting you right now, but I wonder if you trade Mike Evans, what your wide receivers look like when he is healthy. Again, obviously, you're going through these next few weeks without him. So, but no, I would still make this deal. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're missing Evans for 2 weeks too.
Right.
That might be a factor.
But if you have enough,
depending on his team,
if you have enough capable wide receivers there,
sure,
where you can withstand it, like
sure,
even post his return,
yeah,
I would do it.
I still think I'm even if you don't need Mike Evans for the next few weeks, like I would do it either way. But all right, let me pull the super chat from J876. $2 super, said full PPR, start Downs, Dell, Rashad White in the flex. Yeah, I think we're gonna agree here. It's Josh Downs. He's my wide receiver 17 this week.
Yeah, it's Josh Downs. When you go back to those games that Flacco was starting, you look at how early and often Josh Downs was getting targets. There is no reason for me to suspect that will not continue now that Flacco is back under center. So, yeah, Downs is the easy answer for me.
Yeah. I mean, when Joe Flacco
especially with these other options too. Yeah.
Yeah. But when Flacco was the quarterback, Downs had a 25% target share, 35, 21. I mean, so the target share is there. He has the connection with Flacco. Minnesota is 32nd against wide receivers right now. This is the worst defense when it comes to points given up to the wide receiver position. You have to start Josh Downs. I wouldn't think twice about it. Tank Dell could have a good day today. I've told people to start him, but I think Josh Downs is 100% the play here.
Tank Dell is one of those guys, especially based on the questions we're getting asked today. You and I are either going to be like, we were right, or we're going to be like, shit, we were wrong. That's Tank Dell this week.
Hey, one of us will be right. One of us, because I prefer Dell. It sounds like more than you tonight. It doesn't seem like you have much confidence in him. Is that accurate?
That would be accurate. Yes, correct.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. We're at the 53-minute mark. We got about like 15, maybe 20 minutes left. Let's try to bang through some of these a little bit quicker. We do have another super chat. This is from Nick Walker. I think is that Canadian or is that pounds?
I'm more interested in the picture, but go on.
Picture's cool too. Said, good evening. Start the Saints, Houston, Cincinnati, Philly, or New England.
This is up your alley, buddy. This is all you.
Yeah. I mean, we got
I'll give an answer, but it's all you.
Well, there's a lot of defensive questions. We got a lot of new subs from so we have some new listeners here. So I appreciate it. I like getting these questions. It's different than the normal stuff we talk about. I think
Yep.
I think everybody's a good play here. Except I don't love Houston, so that's the easy no. I think right now it's probably between the Saints, Philly, and Cincinnati for me. I think I probably start the Saints, Cincy, Philly. I probably start the Bengals. If BTJ doesn't play, I'm starting the Eagles over all these teams, and the Eagles would be my number 2 defense this week. The Commanders be 1, and then Cincinnati would be 3, with the Saints being 4. That's how I rank it. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, Hoff, but that's kind of where I see it for me.
If I had to rank them, I would go New Orleans, Philly, Cincy.
Okay.
And those, and I say that because those are the only teams I'm considering here.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
so we're a little different there, and that's fine. So for Hoff would start the Saints. For me, I would start Cincinnati. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, all 3 of those defenses have a really good spot. It's really about that ceiling is the biggest thing because their floors are there.
No, the floors are definitely there. My whole bit is that it's New Orleans going up against the Panthers, and
I know.
I can't trust Bryce Young
I know.
at all.
I know.
So
I get that. They're lacking weapons right now. No Deontay. Thielen's probably out. Maybe Jonathan Brooks plays. That could mean something too. So we'll see. But all right, let's shift gears here. This one will be pretty easy. Pate said Jalen McMillan or Keon Coleman this week. You have Keon Coleman going up against Miami. He's come on lately. For what it's worth,
yeah,
like we talked about the possibility of him like having a good back half of the year. That's why I was worried about Shakir a little bit in the back half too. But I mean, for me, I'm probably going to go with Keon Coleman just because Josh Allen and the Bills tend to beat up on this Miami team. Keon Coleman's picking up steam, and the Kansas City defense is very good at limiting wide receivers. So I would go with Keon Coleman here.
Yeah, this isn't even close to me. I would go Keon Coleman.
Okay.
For everything that you said, yes.
And I know I keep over talking. Let's try to answer some of these quicker. I'm kind of giving a lot of analysis.
So much, Pete.
I'm giving
God
a lot.
Damn it!
I'm trying to give some more analysis. We're backed up on questions here.
There's a reason why we don't have that many likes.
We do have another super chat from Zachary Conway. He said, "Should I start Dell tonight or wait and see on Brian Thomas Jr.? If BTJ doesn't play, I'd put in McMillan or Cedric Tillman."
Oh.
Yeah, I would wait.
I would wait too. Because to me, and Tillman would be the guy.
Yes,
but I've been saying it all show, but that would be the guy. But I would wait.
Yeah, I would wait too. I think BTJ. I feel like BTJ does play, but if he doesn't, I think Dell and Tillman are both tough matchups. They're both kind of toss ups a little bit tonight, this week. So I think
I could just see, and then we can run to the next question. I could see an instance in which, like, if Brian Thomas plays well, right? Like, if he plays well, I could see him not being that far off from Cedric Tillman, or Cedric Tillman being a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, I could see that as well. Sorry, I'm looking at questions here. Instead of reading all of these questions that we were super backed up on, I do see FF Rabbit is in here, and that's one of our guys, and he's helping answer some questions, so we appreciate that. He's in here. Nate's in here as well. He writes for us too, so he's answering some questions too. I do want to get to where was it, Greg? Greg said, not Houston. I just picked them up for tonight. No, I wouldn't start Houston. Shoot me a message personally, Greg, if you need help, navigating, who you should pick up since you're not. I wouldn't start Houston. Trust your gut. I keep telling guys this, like, on Twitter that asked me about the defensive stuff. Like, trust your gut. Like, I know I've been doing well, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be perfect. But, like, if something's telling you that you don't don't agree with me, or you like the defense you want to start, like go with it. Like, I'm not going to be perfect all year. So shoot me a message if you want some advice on who to pick up. I'd be curious to see who you have out there. That there's probably a better play than Houston. And then Ethan said Jets or Pats defense. I would start the Pats defense against Will Levis or Mason Rudolph and the Titans.
Yeah. 1,000%. Yeah.
Stephen McMahon said start Tracy, Olave, or Tillman at the flex PPR. Olave,
this might be a week for him.
Yeah, it's a good matchup for him.
I'm saying it might,
It's between Olave and Tracy for me. Right?
Where's Tracy at right now in terms of the fear of concussion protocol? Yeah. So that's a big question. Where is he at there? Because I would actually, and I'll just say this while Pete looks it up. As much as I've been on Tillman this whole show, I would go Olave over Tillman this week in particular. What up, Robert?
Yeah, so Tracy, by the way, is trending towards playing. I still prefer Olave, and I love Tracy this week. I prefer Olave. I think that Carolina defense is awful. They don't have a weapon. If Derek Carr plays, like, give me Olave in this matchup. Like, I don't know how you. I mean, I love Tracy. Don't get me wrong. He's one of my favorite plays this week at running back too. But Olave, you got to play Olave against. I mean, Courtland Sutton had no catches the week before and just had his first 100-yard game, I think, since he tore his ACL against this Carolina defense.
I would go with Olave.
Yeah. We're answering some of the newer questions, guys. So, feel free to send in some more recent ones and we'll start answering some of those. Sorry if we did miss you. Just we're just trying our best here to grab what we have, and you could always send a super chat like some of these other gentlemen and women have sent in to us. We appreciate that. You'll jump the line and we'll make sure to get to you. Jake B said Bowers or McBride this week in a standard league. Bowers gets Bengals and McBride and Arizona gets Chicago.
This is one of those things, okay? We can sit here and Pete, you can give an answer, but we can sit here and we can look at, which defense are they playing and what's going on here and this and that. And that's all fine. That's all well and good. And that should be done. You should do your due diligence. In this case, to me, with the weapons that they have there, Bowers is going to be the guy almost always for the rest of the fantasy football season. The only way you're saying, do I start Bowers, is if you have Kittle or if Kelsey wakes up, and we'll see what we get. That's probably it, honestly, because we're not seeing a ton out of Laporta, and we'll see what Hockenson gives us. But outside of that,
McBride's been good.
Okay, yeah, but I'm just saying, you look at the targets that he's getting alone, Brock Bowers. To me, like, that's the answer. We can look up all these fun stats to help our arguments, which is fantastic.
I know. I mean, they're both good matchups. I just think for me, I think target share, like, they're kind of similar. McBride gets Chicago. He gets Chicago 17th. It looks like Bowers has a better matchup. The only thing I worry about is just the Raiders just getting the shit kicked out of them by, in this game. And then, that's just what that's really my biggest concern. I think I'm with Hoff though. I think I would start Bowers. But you're in a tough spot. I would say the same thing we said before. If you could flex both guys, I would flex both guys. If there's a way to get both in your lineup, I would try to find a way.
By the way, just before you go on to the next thing, I just saw a flash on my screen. Puka Nacua was officially limited in practice and left early because of his knee injury.
I can't deal with it, dude. I can't. I fucking can't. I can't do it, man. I'm gonna have a meltdown on show. Great. Anyway, total. I can't even get my head on straight now. And you're fucking me up by playing that. All right. Luke Stins said start McLaurin or Garrett Wilson this week. I prefer Terry this week.
Same here.
I think Garrett's gonna have a nice week. I just have Terry like 2 spots higher in my ranking.
I think Garrett has a good week in terms of what he's given you this year. Like he struggled. So I think Garrett Wilson has a good week, but I think McLaurin has the better week. Yeah.
Swavey said, "Hey, can you rank these 4 rest of the season? Tyreek, DK, McLaurin, Collins." For me, it's Tyreek, it's Collins, it's DK, and it's Terry. That's how I rank it. You could swap DK and Terry. I could see either or, but it's Tyreek and then Collins for me. Those 2 have to be the 1 and 2. I could even see Collins being ahead of Tyreek.
I would go Tyreek. I would go Nico Collins, yes, and then I'll go McLaurin, and I will go DK. But I will say, I think McLaurin could potentially surprise us and finish better than Collins.
Yeah. I mean, I personally, I could see. Is there a world where it happens? Sure. I think with Stephon Diggs out, I want all the Nico I can get unless he re-aggravates that. Basher said Coker, Hubbard, Trey, Palmer, Christian Watson, or Conklin for the flex spot.
I apologize. I just saw the picture you posted on X earlier of you with the mask. Whatever the fuck that mask was. I don't understand.
You like that?
I mean, I don't, but I mean, I like that. It made me laugh. Like, what is that sticking out of your face? Is that a cigarette? Like, what is that?
It's a cigarette.
But like, why does it look like it's coming out of your nose?
Dude, I don't know. I didn't ask the guys that made it.
Well,
all right, let's try to rip through here. We got about 5 minutes left.
Fuck you.
Coker, Hubbard, Trey, Christian Watson, or Conklin. I would go Hubbard. Here.
I would go Hubbard as well. I am very curious to see what happens in that backfield. It seems like for fans of Hubbard, the sun might be beginning to set based on whatever they do with Jonathan Brooks, which Pete talked about earlier. Keep an eye on that. But for now, yeah, that's where I'd go.
Yeah. 3P said, damn, DK no practice today. Might have to play JSN. Ew. Yeah, that's
yeah. You might have to, buddy.
Seattle gets the Rams, right?
Yes, they do, and I believe it's in Seattle.
Yeah, so
I have it right in front of me.
I mean, you could be in a you could be in a worse.
That is one of the 4:00 games.
Yeah, I mean, the Rams. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, I mean, middle of the pack to wide receivers. I mean, you could be in a worse spot. Ty Williams said Hawkinson or Ferguson this week. Ferguson until Hawk proves us that he's good.
Yep, agreed.
O'Burke said Wilson or Dobbins this week at the flex spot. Garrett Wilson or Dobbins.
I know where I'm going, and you might not like it.
You're gonna say Dobbins.
That I am.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Garrett Wilson.
I'll make this quick because I know we're gonna run through questions, but we talked about this a lot in terms of other fantasy players and everything else. Like, I need to see it from this Jets offense. I need Aaron Rodgers to wake up. I need to see that. So,
but Garrett Wilson's been good. Like, so that doesn't matter.
He's been good, but he's also had fucking awful games, man.
I mean, he though?
What? Yes, he has.
Okay, let's take
like 2 weeks ago. Go look. He's 2 weeks ago. It's a fucking abomination, man.
He has.
Here we go.
He's had, let's see, Garrett Wilson, 16, 11, 24, 29. So in the last 4 weeks, he's had one game under 16. Like, I don't know. Dobbins has a tough matchup, but let's get to Jay since he sent the super chat, and then we have Craig who also sent the super chat.
You're wrong, but okay.
I'm going with Garrett. He's going. Dobbins is like my RB23 this week. Jay said chances D-Hop has a breakout game this week. I think it's possible. I mean,
Yeah.
he looked good in his limited snaps, and I mean, I haven't seen anything from Xavier Worthy to be like, he's going to be like a monster the rest of the way, and it's going to hinder Hopkins. I think he could be good. I mean, breakout, like what is breakout? Like, I think he
Right.
could be like
Like,
wide receiver 20 the rest of the way. That I think that's fair.
well, but he's saying this week. So
This
like
week,
this
like
week, are you
breakout.
expecting?
Yeah, in my head, I hear breakout, and then I think like the rest of the way. Is he going to break out, and then so like, I mean, I
Oh,
could see
I
him.
got it.
Yeah, I mean, Tampa Bay is a good matchup. So yeah, I mean, I could see him having a breakout this week.
And I
You know,
mean, I think this all goes into what Pete is saying. It's all about your expectations of what you think you can get from Hopkins. Like, for example, I said earlier on this show, I like Mahomes this week. I think this is the first time Mahomes gets a 20-point fantasy game in almost a year.
yeah,
But the whole bit of that is DeAndre Hopkins doesn't have to be the focal point of that. It could be Xavier Worthy. It could be Travis Kelsey. Fuck, it could be Noah Gray. So Hopkins doesn't have to be the guy. So okay. Here, last thing I'll say. I think Hopkins. I think we start to see him play well, but I think we have to temper our expectations and know that he is not what he was years ago. And that's not because his skills are diminished. It's because the offense he's in. That's all.
yeah. I mean, I would just be curious to see. I'm trying to look at targets per route run for
Mhm.
Hopkins to see what what his targets were, like
He's
on the routes that he ran.
he's also getting settled into this offense too, like so it's like it's a hard barometer to read.
Well, okay, he in 22 snaps, he was targeted 3 times. So, I mean, on 14 of his routes, he got targeted 3 times. That's pretty good. I mean, so yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it's like one
I
of those
definitely
baseball
think
things with the average.
yeah. All right, Craig Dubs. Honestly, Craig, you look like Philip Rivers, first of all.
Shit,
Is it
you
just
do,
me?
man. How'd
Is
that
it
happen?
just,
Well, maybe he's one of his sons. I mean, Phil
dude,
Rivers has
he's
like
got a
what,
lot
like
of them.
27 kids,
He's got a lot
Fucker
of them.
fucker setting up franchises. Anyway,
Craig said 2 quick ones. Appreciate the $5 super chat, by the way, Craig. It
yes,
means a lot.
immensely. Appreciate
Yeah,
it a lot.
we
Yes.
appreciate that. He said Hawkinson or Tolbert at the flex PPR. Let's cover that one first. So you have the Cowboys. We haven't talked about the Cowboys in a while. I keep forgetting matchups here, so give me a second.
Cowboys are at the Falcons.
Falcons. So Cowboys against the Falcons. He's got Hawkinson this
And that's
week.
Sunday night. They're home against the Colts.
I would go with Hawkinson. I think Tolbert could have a nice week, but we keep talking about this with Jalen Tolbert, and it just hasn't been there.
It's just To me, all right. The whole deal with Jalen Tolbert is this is how I personally feel. I feel like Jalen Tolbert's going to be one of those guys that we expect to be well for fantasy, but won't be as good for that. But he will be good for NFL. Like he'll get some third down catches or he'll get a deep catch here and there. But it's not like what happens on an NFL field doesn't always calculate to fantasy football. So while Jalen Tolbert may make some plays, I don't think that means that he's going to eclipse whatever TJ Hawkinson does. So Hawkinson's the guy for me.
Yeah. Next question from him. He said, "Do I start Dak or do I start Geno or pick up one of the other guys?" I'm starting Dak. Dak gets a good matchup this week. He gets the Falcons. I think it's going to be a high scoring game. Both defenses are shaky. I get it. You might say Flacco. I understand the draw, but to me, like this Cowboys team needs to win. It's a really good matchup, and it's going to be a high scoring game. I'm going to go with Dak here.
Hold on, I'm looking up one thing. Give me one. Say some other beautiful things. Give me one.
You want me to fill some airtime here? Hold on.
Yeah, definitely do it. Yeah, please. That's what I precisely need right now. So
here I'll give you the Stephen Anthony dancing with the the little things.
Yeah.
We don't have any funny clips to pull up. We don't have anything close.
That was fucking hilarious. I would actually go. I would go. I'd go Gino this week.
Mm.
I agree in the sense that he doesn't need to reach into the well to get a Flacco or a Winston. While I like those guys rest of season, this week the matchups aren't the best. So with that said, I feel like at that point, me and Pete are just talking on a floor of Dak or Gino, because we've both established at least whatever. Pete or whatever. I just in my sense, I'm talking about Dak or Gino, and I would go Gino slightly over Dak.
No, I can get the argument. I'm just looking at the Rams and Sam Darnold 20 points. Then the next 2 weeks it was Gardner Minshew and O'Connell who combined for like 10. Jordan Love had 20. Then Caleb Williams had 13. Brock Purdy had 30. Clayton Tune and Kyler Murray at 31. Jared Goff 15. I mean, I think you're probably getting like somewhere around 16 to 20 with Gino. I just think Dak has a higher ceiling. But I think go with your gut there. But that would be, Hoff takes Gino, I take Dak. And that's it. We still have some other questions, guys. I'll answer this one more since it's a defensive question. Christian said Broncos defense
too.
Broncos defense or the Browns. Browns defense isn't very good. They're going up against the Chargers. They did just limit the Ravens last week, but I read the Broncos. Look, I am worried about this game. I think the Broncos defense could get a little bit exposed. They've been phenomenal, and there's some historical metrics, but
I just go the Browns here.
Yeah, I'm still gonna start Denver. I only say actually.
What's the name here? Christian? Is that the name?
Yeah, it's Christian. I'm gonna start the
Christian.
Browns. I'm gonna start.
I would go with the Browns, but the one thing I would say as we start to round this out, though, is there another defense available that might be better than those two? While I would like them on other weeks, I don't like them right now. So,
yeah, I'm looking here at the Chargers, and then my computer just jumped off the screen.
I'm gonna keep saying meow until someone says, "You saying meow?"
I know you're saying meow, but I just ignoring you.
You see me all jumping around, all nimbly bibbly.
Shut the fuck up.
I'm gonna piss off Pete soon. Usually I piss off Anthony. I'll piss off Pete soon.
The Chargers are in the bottom half for points given up per game. The Ravens are the second best when it comes to defenses. So yeah, you know what? I can understand going Browns. I probably go Browns there. To answer one more defensive question, and then we're out of here. Drop questions in the chat. We're planning on doing something. We keep talking about it, maybe opening up a Discord where you guys have the ability to reach out to us directly. It might be some sort of $5 a month where maybe we give out a couple of free, just to do something directly where you can send us your pictures of your teams and get access to us easier because we can't answer everybody. There's more coming on that at some point. Roach said Eagles or Titans defense this week. I'm going to go with the Eagles. Titans defense is banged up. I did list them as a streamer, but as the week has gone on, they've got a lot of injuries, and it looks like Drake May might play. So Eagles for sure. Eagles for sure.
Yeah, the Titans defense is pretty good, but yeah, they are banged up, as Pete said. So yeah, I'd go Eagles. Especially everything going on with Jacksonville. So yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's really it for us. Hoff will close us out. If you have any questions, I know a lot of you guys that asked me defensive stuff, hit me up on Twitter. You can, I'll keep answering you guys there. Hit up Hoff as well. Hoff's been doing a lot of stuff with kickers. So if you have questions on that, let him know. TTV said, I asked the question 40 minutes ago and you guys skipped over it earlier.
No, get to it then. We can answer.
We'll pull him.
We'll pull him now. Yeah.
Yeah, I said traded Higgins and Najee for Swift Reed. Already have JJ London and Adams. What are your thoughts? So you moved Higgins and Najee for Swift and Reed. I prefer Reed over Higgins, and I prefer Swift over Najee. So I think you're in a good spot. I think it was a good trade.
Yeah, no, I'm
One
looking
thing
at
I
it
would
now.
say, Higgins could get traded. Higgins could get traded if this Bengals team loses this week,
I
and
don't see
I
it.
mean
Trade him.
somehow if they lose this week though, they haven't extended Higgins. He's on the
He's
tag.
gone either way. He's gone either way. You might as
Right.
well
So
get
my
something
point
for
is
him.
if they lose,
Yeah,
I
no.
think they trade him. I don't think they're gonna
I,
lose to the fucking Raiders, but if they did,
I'm
it'd be fucking
I,
a
I'm just
meltdown.
saying, speaking from experience. I mean, of a guy who's been a fan of teams who had the opportunity to just trade a guy as opposed to just lose him. I think you went out on that deal,
Yeah.
and I appreciate you immensely hanging in that long. And I'm sorry we didn't get your question sooner, but
Yeah. A
that
lot of
is the
times what we'll
way
do
the
when we get built up, we'll tell people resend in your questions. I just missed it. And when super chats come up, they take priority. So we jump
right.
over to them and then come
But
back.
I think,
You
but
know,
I think you're good to go. Ultimately,
yeah.
honestly, I do. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, that's gonna do it for us. If you have questions, drop them in the video. Hoff, close us out.
Hmm. All right. Well, hopefully this was a good show. I heard it was going to get 47 dislikes. I'm going to see how many likes it gets. I don't know if I can. Wait, was I supposed to say that out loud?
No, I don't think you were.
Oh, that happened. Until next
That's all right.
time, stay thirsty, be kind to one another, have a wonderful Halloween, eat all of your kids' candy. We'll catch you on the flip side. Cheers. Whenever he hits the button to go away.
Dude, I thought you were clearing